Hello, it's Bryony here from Salt by the Sea, and I have something a little bit different for you today. Last week I did an interview with the SLP Happy Hour podcast, sharing my 6 top questions that I use within parent coaching sessions to help parents to reflect on their child's communication skills and help us establish a real sense of respectful teamwork and collaboration when we're working together to help a child become a confident communicator. So in this video, I'm going to give you the highlights from that podcast, and I will link to the full podcast below, so do check that out if you'd like all the details. I'd love to hear from you. If you're a therapist or a practitioner and you're also helping parents with this, I'd love to know your perspective. What do you find the most helpful questions to ask parents so that we can work together in a really supportive way? So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to the SLP Happy Hour podcast.
I've been doing almost everything online for the last year. There was a little period last summer where I was seeing children outside at the beach, and that was really fun. That took Salt by the Sea to a new level. But the majority of my work is online, and actually there's been some surprising benefits to that because I work with children who are not yet talking. It's in-person sessions, it's really easy for me to dive in and just do the play with the child. And actually being online has really forced me to spend more time in supporting the parent so that the parent really gets that experience of being able to help their child rather than, oh, I bring my child to therapy and Bryony will work with them. So it's a kind of a challenging shift, but it's definitely been worth the hard work.
So let's get into our 6 go-to questions. The first question you have is, so how are things going? What prompted you to get in touch with me now?
Yeah, a really open question, and not even specifically communication related. And I think that this is really important because we know that communication is an ecosystem, right? We're trying to get a sense of what is everyday life like, because that's how children communicate within those everyday situations. It's not a very professionally crafted question. It's more, let me sit alongside you and listen to what's happening for you now. And then that idea of why have you got in touch with me now can often get a little bit more detailed. That often prompts parents to tell me a little bit more about the child's communication, whether there's something they've seen that's very worrying for them or something that has just meant that now feels like a time when they can commit some extra energy and attention to this. Okay, so the second one, I will say, is it all right if we just hang out today? Often that for that first session, they'll arrive and think, oh, I'm coming in and I know I worry that Bryony is going to judge my parenting. I know that crops up because parents will share with me how that fear of like, maybe my child has a communication need because I'm not doing a good enough job. And so anything that I can do to reduce the worry about that first session and that potential for the parent to be judged is helpful. And also saying, hey, can we just hang out together with no expectations, and we're just going to see what your child's up to, see how they play, see what they pay attention to, see how they communicate with you. It establishes that there's no expectation that us therapists are going to be doing to the child, but instead we're looking at their communication and looking for the opportunities for us to build on the tiny early communication steps that they may be taking. So one of the questions that I will often ask is, I see your child doing this. Did you see that? What did you think of it? Because that helps me to invite the parent to share their experience. So over time, we're building this trust of like, hey, mom or dad or whoever is bringing the child to the session, I really want your input. I really value how you're noticing and interpreting the things that your child is doing. And we talked about establishing wonder and open curiosity. So I try and introduce that in a way with the parent by saying, I wonder what would happen if you tried insert communication strategy here. By starting with I wonder, again, I'm encouraging parent to observe what happens. It's like, we're going to experiment with this. All children are a little bit different in how they respond to things. I wonder what would happen if you tried this, and then we can talk about it. And I use video feedback a lot in my sessions as well. So I might catch a little bit of that in video, and we can look back on that afterwards, really to encourage the parent to reflect and bring their expertise to what's happening within that dynamic between them and their child. So another question that I will often ask is, the things that we've seen today, does that feel typical for you? This gives a parent the opportunity to say anything that they brought to the session but haven't had a chance to talk through. And that really helps us to make sure that the parent feels like, I have seen their child and got a sense of their communication. And that, again, we're on the same page in terms of what we're seeing their child do. My final question that I ask within therapy sessions is one of the most vulnerable making for me and for the parent. And it's definitely an opportunity to practice embracing the awkward silence, because I will ask them, what's one thing that you're going to take away from our session today and maybe try out at home? Really, I'm asking them to reflect on the last half hour or hour of our session. And I'm interested to see what is the kind of highlight point that really made them think.
So that's today's episode. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as Bryony and I enjoyed recording it. And we both hope this episode has been a little slice of an SLP happy hour for you. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Thanks so much for watching today. I hope that it gave you some useful ideas, sparked a couple of things that you might be able to try out within your home visits or your therapy sessions with families. And if you're interested in this topic, I am too, and I think we should be talking more about how we can support families in a holistic, compassionate, clear way. So I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments, and of course I also share workshops on this topic and other things within my newsletter, so do sign up for the monthly Dash of Salt if you'd like to be notified and kept in the loop on some of those things coming up in the months to come. Thanks so much for joining me. You're doing an awesome job. Every tiny step we take is a step in the right direction, so thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.